Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining me. My name is Lauren James. I am the Yoga and Fitness Program Coordinator at McFetridge Sports Center. And today I will be guiding you through a Vinyasa yoga class where we will focus on balance poses of all sorts of shapes and sizes. So that's where we're going to be working today. So we are going to start seated. I always like to sit on something. I am going to use a block, but you can sit on whatever you got handy, a pillow, a folded blanket, whatever you need, but just elevate your hips somehow. You won't need any other props for the rest of the practice. Blocks are always handy, but you don't need them if you don't have them. All right, so coming up to a comfortable seat, again, ideally elevating your hips, sitting on a little bit of height, letting the legs relax, lengthening the spine up, crown of the head up, reaching up towards the sky as you let your shoulders relax and fall heavy away from the ears. Let the arms rest wherever feels comfortable. Let the eyes softly close. And we'll turn our attention inward here for a few moments, shifting the attention to the breath. For a few moments, just notice your breath. Noticing different qualities, different aspects of your breath. And as you're noticing your breath, really hone in on how smooth your breath is. How it's a smooth, fluid motion as you inhale and as you exhale. Notice how your breath is uninterrupted. It's seamless. And you are always welcome to breathe naturally. Stay with your natural breath. Observe, feel, and experience your organic breath. But if you'd like, you can follow along as I guide you through a pranayama, a breathing technique called Viloma. Viloma is where we will divide the breath. We'll start by dividing just the inhalation, and then if you're comfortable, we'll add on. But we'll start with a version of Viloma where, again, we'll divide the inhalation into 3 equal parts, pausing and holding the breath for a moment after each part. It's a perfectly safe practice unless you are pregnant or trying to get pregnant. So if you're pregnant or trying to get pregnant, skip this practice, breathe naturally. Otherwise, it's perfectly safe. We'll just start with the inhalation. I will walk you through it. So begin by exhaling completely. Push all of the breath out of your lungs. And then inhale 1/3 of the way. Pause, hold your breath. Now inhale 2/3 of the way. Pause, hold your breath. Now inhale 3/3 of the way. Fill your lungs to their capacity. Fill your lungs all the way, hold it at the top, hold the breath. And then exhale a long, smooth, seamless breath out. Return back to a natural breath. Inhale naturally, exhale naturally. We'll return to Viloma. Inhale 1/3 of the way, pause, hold the breath. Inhale 2/3 of the way, pause, hold the breath. Inhale 3/3 of the way. Fill your lungs to their capacity, 100%, 105%. Hold it at the top. And then exhale a long, smooth, seamless, fluid, uninterrupted breath out. Inhale naturally. Exhale naturally. One more like that. Inhale 1/3 of the way. Pause. Hold the breath. Inhale 2/3 of the way, pause, hold the breath. Inhale 3/3 of the way. Fill your lungs 105% of the way to their capacity. Hold it at the top. And then exhale a long, smooth, fluid breath out. Inhale naturally. Exhale naturally. Now we'll add on to the exhalation, but you're welcome to stay with what we were doing. But to move on, inhale 1/3 of the way, pause, hold the breath. Inhale 2/3 of the way, pause, hold the breath. Inhale 3/3, fill your lungs to their capacity. Keep inhaling, hold it at the top. Now listen up for the exhalation. Exhale only 1/3 of the way, pause, hold the breath. Now exhale 2/3 of the way, pause, hold the breath. Exhale 3/3 of the way, push all of the breath out of your lungs. Get back down to 0% full. Keep breathing out. Hold it at the bottom for just a moment. And then inhale naturally. Exhale naturally. So you're welcome to just focus on the inhalation or add on the exhalation. Your call, but we're going to do 3 more rounds. Inhale 1/3 of the way, pause, hold the breath. Inhale 2/3 of the way, pause, hold the breath. Inhale 3/3, fill your lungs all the way, hold it at the top. Now exhale 1/3 of the way, pause, hold the breath. Exhale 2/3 of the way, pause, hold the breath. Exhale 3/3, push all of the breath out. When you think you can't breathe out anymore, keep breathing out a little more, hold it at the bottom. And inhale naturally, exhale naturally. 2 more rounds. Inhale 1/3 of the way, pause, hold the breath, but soften the shoulders, the arms, and the hands. Inhale 2/3 of the way, pause, hold the breath, but soften the throat, neck, and jaw. Inhale 3/3 of the way, fill your lungs, but relax the muscles of your face. Hold the breath for a moment. And then exhale 1/3 of the way, pause, hold the breath, soften shoulders and arms. Exhale 2/3 of the way, pause, hold the breath, but soften throat, neck, and jaw. Exhale 3/3 of the way, push all of the breath out of your lungs, get back down to 0% full, but relax the muscles of your face, hold it at the bottom for a moment. And then inhale naturally, exhale naturally. 1 last round, then we're done with pranayama. Inhale 1/3 of the way, pause. Inhale 2/3, pause. Inhale 3/3. Fill up and then pause. Exhale 1/3, pause. Exhale 2/3, pause. Exhale 3/3, completely empty all the air from your lungs, hold it at the bottom. Now inhale naturally, exhale naturally. Return completely back to your natural breath. Breathe entirely in a way that is effortless, that is easy, and just notice how you feel. Slowly join your hands together in front of your heart in Anjali Mudra, palms together, thumbs softly resting on the collarbones. If it feels right for you in this moment, you're welcome to set an intention for your practice. Ask yourself what brought you to your mat. What made you choose yoga over something else? Give yourself some time to silently and slowly repeat your intention, this phrase or this word. Silently and slowly repeat it to allow it to settle in your heart. And slowly draw the chin in towards the chest, bowing reverently at your intention that you've set for yourself. Slowly allow your eyelids to flutter open so you're looking down at your fingertips. And then you can slowly release your hands, gently lift your head. Okay. All right, so we are going to stay seated for just a little bit longer. So if you're sitting asymmetrically like I am, change the cross of your legs, put the other leg in front or on top. Notice if that feels any different. Okay. So allow your legs to feel heavy, allow your spine to feel long and light. We're just going to move a little bit through the neck and shoulders here. So maintaining the length through the rest of the spine, from the hips to the shoulders is still tall and long, but we'll just start to trace circles, thinking about the crown of the head, tracing circles, or the top of the head really, tracing circles on the ceiling. So making these circles as you sort of rotate around, and you can start to increase the size of the circle a little bit with every rotation. Now we want this movement to be very smooth and slow and controlled. In a Vinyasa yoga class, you can expect to be moving quickly sometimes, to get the heart rate up, to start sweating. Maybe your breath at some points in the practice will be a little labored. That's okay. But now, as we're warming up, we're still just sort of starting to move the body. So nothing too fast, nothing that gets you there just yet. Okay, and then once you're making these large circles, do about one more just like this. And then once your chin comes towards your chest, towards the center of your chest, let it pause for a moment. And then reverse the direction of the circle. So just going the opposite way, starting with these large circles. Now, again, the rest of your spine is tall and long. Your chest is lifted. Shoulders are relaxed. We're just moving at the neck and the cervical spine. The thoracic and lumbar and sacral sections of the spine are all in neutral. And now we'll reverse out of this. So start to slowly create smaller circles as you're going around. Decreasing the size of the circle, and then eventually coming back to the center, back to neutral, keeping again the entire length of the spine now long and in neutral. Okay, and then now we're just going to move through the shoulders. So some shoulder rolls or some circles. Now you can do one at a time, sort of alternating, or do both together, your call. Well, let's do just maybe 3 more. We don't have to do too many here. And then reverse the direction of the circle, making large circles. Again, you can do one at a time or them together, but let's do about 3 more. And the idea here is that in balance poses, you always want to find a drishti, a focal point, something that you can look at. So I want your neck and shoulders to be warmed up just in case your drishti is off to the side, which usually it's straight on, but just in case. All right, so let's come into tabletop. Let's come onto all fours on our hands and knees. We'll be kneeling for a little bit. So if you want to pad something under your knees, you're welcome to do that, like a thinly folded towel or blanket. I'm going to have my blocks at the top 2 corners of the mat, but again, of course, all of these props are optional. All right, so we're going to start in tabletop, and we're going to move through the spine. So let's start, again, hands under shoulders, spread the fingers wide, knees under hips, really push down. Everything that's touching the ground, including the shins and the tops of the feet, should be pushing down into the floor. And you're going to keep the arms and the legs still, but let's move the torso. Inhale, drop the belly. Drop the ribs, but lift the chest, lift the heart. Look forward. Oftentimes in this pose, students look to the ceiling. Just look forward here. Exhale as you tuck your tailbone, ribs to the ceiling, chin to the chest. Look towards your belly button. Inhale, drop the belly. Drop your ribs, but lift your chest, lift your heart. Look forward. Exhale, tuck the tailbone, ribs to the sky, chin to the chest, look at the belly button. 1 more of each. Inhale into the spinal extension. Exhale into spinal flexion. Moving the spine forward and back, and then come back to the center, back to a neutral spine. So crown of the head forward, tailbone back. You're looking to the space between your thumbs. Inhale, Exhale, look over your right shoulder, like you're drawing your right shoulder towards your right hip. Feel a lengthening in the left side of the torso. Inhale to the center, look to the space between your thumbs. Exhale, look over your left shoulder, like you're crunching your left shoulder towards your left hip. Inhale to the center. Exhale to the side stretch. Inhale to the center. Exhale to the side stretch. We're going to do just one more on each side. We're not going to spend too much time here, but I want you to think about really opening the sides of the torso and the sides of the spine. We did the front and the back. Now can we do the right and the left? And then once you return back to the center, pause here, back to that neutral spine. Now the movement we're about to come into, we often end up dropping the ribs and dropping the belly. This shows me that your lower back is very vulnerable and that your abs are not engaged. And so we need to be drawing the ribs up a little bit, navel to spine, spine to the sky. We don't necessarily want a cat pose, but come to neutral and make sure you stay in neutral. All right, so a dristi, a focal point, something that you can look at that's going to be important when we're balancing. So here, look at the tip of your left thumb. Look at the tip of your left thumb. It'll help keep your neck in neutral, your cervical spine, and it's going to help you balance to look at one fixed spot. So look at the tip of your left thumb and reach your right fingertips forward like you're going to shake someone's hand. So reaching fingertips forward with the right thumb to the sky. Now you can stay here or allow your left leg to lift and float upwards. Push back through the left heel. Left toes are pointing down towards the mat. So make sure left hand is pushing down to lift up out of the left armpit. Right knee, right shin, top of the right foot pushing down to lift the belly. And keep the hips level. Make sure that the left hip isn't hiking up. Stay for just a breath. Inhale. Exhale, slowly return the hand and the knee. And we're just going to do it one more time on this second side. Just once each side, and we're going to move on. So we've got a lot to get through. So look down at the tip of your right thumb. Your neck will stay in neutral. It'll help you balance. Look at the tip of your right thumb. Reach left fingertips forward. Fingertips forward, thumb to the sky, almost like you're going to shake someone's hand, but with your left hand. Now you can stay here or lift up your right leg. Push the right heel back, right toes to the ground. Keep the hips level. The right hip often wants to lift up, drop it down, but lift the ribs. Push down into the floor. With anything that's touching the floor, push it down. Lift the belly. Keep the spine in neutral. Engage the abs. Protect the lower back. You got it. Inhale. Exhale, slowly lower. Hand and knee back down. Okay. So you might be thinking to yourself, that wasn't very challenging. I know how to do that. I can do that. That's really just a preview for something harder that's coming later. You can always come back to that, what we just did. When we come to what we're coming to later, you can always come back to what we just did. Okay, but from here, walk your hands one whole handprint closer, farther away from your knees, spread your fingers wide. Hook the toes under. Inhale, lift the knees. Exhale, downward facing dog. Give yourself some time to move and breathe and feel what it's like to be in downward facing dog today. Really notice that feeling of your hands on the mat. Imagine that you're really pushing your hands into the floor, like you're trying to push the earth away from you. Activate your upper body and those muscles to stay engaged here. Take a breath. Okay. Now from downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana, deeply bend the knees. Inhale, look forward. Exhale, walk or step forward into forward fold Uttanasana. Save the jumping for later. Feet are hip distance apart, toes point forward. Maybe you're bending your knees, maybe not, but you're letting your upper body surrender to gravity, letting your upper body just hang. That might mean grabbing opposite elbows. It might mean taking yoga mudra, whatever you need. But give yourself about 2 or 3 breaths in some version of a forward fold that feels good to you. Getting yourself acclimated. Okay, and then if you're holding on to elbows or interlacing your fingers, release your hands. Push your heels firmly into the ground. Inhale, lift up halfway, hold it here. So your hands can come to the floor, to blocks, to shins, the thighs, but lengthen your spine. Reach the crown of your head forward, your tailbone back. Now here, the belly often wants to sag down or round up. So we don't want a cat, we don't want a cow, we want a neutral spine. Protect the lower back, engage the abs, lengthen the spine. Firmly push the heels into the floor and inhale, rise all the way up. Reach the fingertips to the sky. Maybe add a bit of a back bend at the top by looking up towards the ceiling, and then slowly bring your hands to your heart. Take a deep breath. All right, sun salutations, we're gonna move a little bit more at the pace of the breath. So continue to push the heels down, lengthen up through the crown of the head, let the shoulders relax, take a deep breath. And as we're moving through these sun salutations, imagine that your dristi is always forward. Now it might be down, it might be straight forward, it might be up, but think about keeping your neck in neutral instead of turning to the sides. I know sometimes it's tough depending on where you place the camera, but try to trust yourself and trust me that I can guide you through with verbal cueing. And just imagine thinking about this sort of imaginary track or line that sort of runs from the ceiling down in front of you to the center between your feet. And so your eyes just sort of track up and down this imaginary line, not sideways at all. So maybe up, maybe down, but in this sort of imaginary line. I often like to think as if I'm in like a hamster wheel and there's like sort of this line around. It's sort of a funky metaphor, but that's sort of what we're going for. Okay, let's get moving. Inhale, reach the fingertips up, maybe even look up to the top of that hamster wheel. Exhale, slowly lower as you fold into forward fold, Uttanasana. Inhale, lift up halfway, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, step the right foot back in a runner's lunge. Hands can come to the blocks or to the mat, but under the shoulders, not off to the side and not forward. Right under the shoulders. Push the hands down, lift the chest. Inhale. Exhale, downward facing dog. Take your time, there's no rush. We're still just getting everything moving. Spread your fingers wide, push your hands into the floor. Inhale, shift forward, plank pose. Now we're gonna stay for a few moments. So you're always welcome to drop to your knees or stay on your toes. But either way, you are pushing down into the floor like you're pushing the earth away from you. You're not letting the hips hike up. You're dropping the hips low and tucking the tailbone, protecting the lower back, engaging the abs. Inhale, shift forward. Exhale, slowly lower all the way down onto your belly. Bring the tops of your feet onto the floor. Bring your arms alongside your body, palms face in, and lift your upper body. Now, keep your neck in neutral. You're looking down at the top of your mat, maybe a few inches in front of the mat, but not at the wall in front of you. Keep the back of the neck long, no wrinkles in the back of the neck. Feel the back of the torso strengthening. Inhale, bring the hands under the shoulders. Exhale, downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Remember, there's no rush. Okay, pick up the right foot, reach the right heel back, keep the hips level, three-leg dog. Inhale, exhale, draw the right knee forward towards the belly. Quietly place the right foot in between the hands. It has to come all the way forward. If you've got to pull it or push it, that's okay, but it has to come all the way forward. And then hands under shoulders, push the hands down, lift the chest. Inhale, exhale, step forward, forward fold, Uttanasana, rounding through the upper body. Inhale, lift up halfway, lengthen the spine. Exhale, fold. Push the heels down. Inhale, rise. Look at that imaginary track as you look up towards the ceiling. We're going to do it again. Exhale, hinge at the hips, fold forward, Uttanasana. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, step the left foot back, all the way back, runner's lunge. Hands under the shoulders, push the hands down, lift the chest, lengthen the spine. Inhale. Exhale, downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Spread your fingers, push into the mat. Strengthen the arms and inhale, shift forward, plank pose like the top part of a push-up. You can drop to the knees or stay on the toes, but stay strong, stay long, stay focused, stay engaged. Inhale, shift forward. Exhale, slowly lower all the way down, tops of the feet down on the ground, arms alongside the body. Lift the upper body. So use the muscles of your back to lift your chest. Lengthen the back of your neck, no wrinkles in the back of the neck. Look down, find a dristi, one focal spot. Inhale, lower the hands. Exhale, downward facing dog. Now slowly pick up the left foot, reach the left heel back, hips level. Inhale. Exhale, draw the left knee forward towards your belly. Quietly place the foot in between your hands, runner's lunge, hands down, strengthen the arms, lift the chest, lengthen the spine. Inhale. Exhale, step forward, forward fold, Uttanasana. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, fold, Uttanasana. Push the heels down. Inhale, rise. Look at that imaginary track as you lift up. We're going to move to Sun Salutation A. Exhale, hinge at the hips, fold forward. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, step back into plank with either your right or your left, but notice what you did. Try to do the opposite next time. Now, in this plank, you can drop to your knees. You can stand your toes, maybe, like we did in spinal balance. You start to walk your right hand forward, coming up on just your fingertips, like a bird cage. And then maybe you let the left leg lift. Maybe let the right hand lift, like we did in spinal balance. Stay strong, stay long, and then slowly return everything back down. Inhale, shift forward. Exhale, slowly lower. Inhale to your back bend, whatever back bend you like. Exhale, downward facing dog. Take a few deep breaths here. Maybe coming to the Ujjayi breath, but no longer holding the breath. We did that at the beginning of the practice when we were just sitting still, without moving, without exertion. So now that we're moving and now that we're exerting, a fluid breath. No holding the breath, no pausing in the breath. Take a smooth, fluid breath here. Deeply bend the knees. Inhale, look forward to the space between your thumbs. At the bottom of your exhalation, travel forward, walk, step, or jump. Forward fold, Uttanasana. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, fold. Push the heels down. Inhale, rise. We're going to do that one more time. Exhale, hinge at the hips, fold forward, Uttanasana. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, fold. And step back to plank. Again, maybe stepping with the opposite foot this time. Now you can stay here. You can drop to your knees. Or walk your left hand forward. Just come up onto the fingertips like a bird cage. You can stay here. You should feel that this is already harder. Maybe you lift up the right leg. Maybe you lift up the left hand. So a spinal balance in a plank pose, much harder. You could be on your knees. Take a breath. Bring everything back down. Give yourself a laugh because that's tough. You don't have to be so serious if it was hard. Inhale, shift forward. Exhale, slowly lower. Inhale, take your back bend. Exhale, downward facing dog. Come back to your breath. Smooth, fluid breaths. Uninterrupted breaths. One deep breath here. Deeply bend the knees. Inhale, look forward. At the bottom of the exhalation, travel forward. Forward fold, Uttanasana. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, fold. Push the heels down. Inhale, rise. Look at that imaginary track as you lift, and then slowly bring the hands to the heart. Tadasana, mountain pose. Take a deep breath. Notice how you feel. All right. So from mountain pose, from Tadasana, here's where we're going to start a series of balance poses. So you might find yourself by the wall, whatever you need. But like I mentioned very quickly in the sun salutations, be playful, be lighthearted. It's okay if this is hard. I can almost guarantee I'm gonna be wobbling and wavering. It's okay. We're working, we're learning, we're growing. Okay, so from Tadasana, shift the weight back into the heels. Make sure you can wiggle the toes. Really ground the heels firmly into the floor. They're really strong and stable. Think about these balance poses. You've got to have a strong anchor, right? You don't want to be standing on something that's wobbling, so really firm up those legs. Inhale, reach fingertips to the sky. Exhale, chair pose, Utkatasana. So I'm going to face you just so sort of on the same line, but feet are hip distance apart, and you're sitting your hips not just down towards the floor, but also back, like you're reaching your tailbone for the back edge of your mat. Continue to reach your fingertips up and away, chest lifted, shoulders relaxed. Okay, now we're gonna be moving through some balance poses here, so find a dristi, maybe something a few feet in front of you, just one fixed spot, a spot on the grain of the wood, a spot on the carpet, a piece of lint, whatever you've got. Just keep your eyes fixed on that spot and shift your weight into the toes. So now you're going to push your toes into the floor, lift your heels away from the ground. So lifting your heels up like you're in the top part of a calf raise. So get those heels up, but keep dropping the hips down and low. We want the calves working and we want the quads working. So heels up, really stretch the bottoms of the feet, but get the hips down. Take a deep breath. And then lower the heels down. We're still in chair pose. So hips are still down and back, quads are still working, but calves are now sort of resting. Okay, now shift your weight into your left heel. So shift your weight firmly into the left heel, pick up the right foot. Maybe it just hovers off the ground, or maybe you come to figure four. So bringing the ankle to the top of the opposite thigh. And here I'm already falling. We're just starting, that's okay. So flex this right foot, push the heel over to the side, the toes forward. Now, you might not feel much in your hip, that's not really the point here just yet. We're gonna keep the legs as they are. We're gonna bring the hands to the heart, Anjali Mudra. Palms together, elbows out wide. Inhale, lengthen the spine. Exhale, take a twist over to the left, which is the opposite way we typically twist in this pose. That's okay. Doing the opposite is good sometimes. So hopefully you can twist and bring your dristi over with you. So now you're looking over to the left. Maybe the tricep, the right tricep, can meet at the arch of the right foot. Oop, don't look at me because I'm not doing it yet. Okay, keep your eyes on a fixed spot. So sort of the elbow or the tricep is in the arch of that foot, and you're using that as leverage to rotate and twist. So you're in a figure four chair with a twist. Stay for just a breath. And then inhale, untwist, and cross the right leg all the way over the left. And maybe that right big toe touches the ground. That's okay. You maybe give yourself a break. Okay, but that left leg is still in chair pose. It's still sinking down and back. The right toes might be resting. They might be lifted. Okay, you can keep hands at the heart. Keep your eyes on a fixed spot. Or maybe reach your arms out in opposite directions. Inhale. Exhale, cross the left arm on top of the right, swirling the arms around Garudasana, eagle pose. Reach fingertips to the sky, hips towards the floor. Keep that left leg really strong. Take a breath. And then inhale, unwind, fingertips to the sky, bring that right knee up. Come to a one-leg Tadasana. We're almost there. So from this one-leg Tadasana, really ground the left heel firmly down into the ground. Right leg lifting up. Now, find a dristi back on the floor again. Keep your dristi on the floor. Inhale, transition to warrior three. Tip your torso forward, fingertips forward, crown of the head forward, right heel back. Really reach that heel back. Crown of the head forward. Pause for just a breath. Warrior three, Virabhadrasana three. And then deeply bend the left knee. Let the right foot touch down. Come to crescent lunge. Okay, so make sure each foot is in its own lane of traffic. All 10 toes are forward, so we don't want the back toes turned out. We want all 10 toes forward. And it doesn't matter to me if the back leg is straight or bent. I always like it a little bent, but that's your call. Okay, now from here, inhale, lengthen. Exhale, bring the hands through to the heart. Take a twist again over to the left. So now the right tricep is going to hook to the outside of the left thigh. Bring the hands together, palms together, and use that as leverage to twist, rotate, turn your heart up to the left. Maybe you can look up towards the ceiling, find a dristi there. But really push your left heel into the floor. Reach the right heel back. Turn the heart up to the ceiling. Take a breath. And then inhale, untwist, fingertips to the sky. Push through the left heel, straighten that left leg. Let the right heel drop into the floor and turn all 10 toes to the side of your mat. You can bring your hands to your hips. Okay, so we're taking a wide leg stance here along the length of the mat. So you're facing towards the right side, the long edge of your mat. If you can't see me, again, maybe you just trust yourself and trust the guidance of my verbal cues, or maybe sort of move yourself around, whatever you need. But we're in a wide stance here. Okay, gotta catch my breath. This is harder than I thought. Okay, so you're firmly pushing through the heels, standing up tall, letting the shoulders relax. Okay, so I like to keep my hands at my hips here to get into this pose, even though they're gonna move in a little bit. Hands at the hips is usually a little bit more stable, or hands at the heart, whatever feels best, but something close in to your body is best. Okay, so now we're gonna hook the right toes out a little bit. And we're gonna come into side lunge, Skandasana. This is another pose we don't do very often in yoga classes. Certainly if you take mine, I don't teach this very often, but this is a good pose for right here, and you'll see why. So inhale, really lengthen. Exhale as you deeply bend the left knee, keeping the right leg straight like you're sitting down towards your left heel. Now this is where hands at the heart can help, hands on the floor if you need some support here. But the hope is that your right heel is on the ground, right toes to the sky. Left heel is hopefully on the ground. Now, it might not be, and that's okay, but the hope is that this left heel is on the ground, the whole bottom of the left foot on the ground. Now, if you're familiar with this pose, you might take a bind or some sort of option with your arms, that's fine, but you're welcome to just stay here with your hands at your heart. Now, I often find that I end up wanting to fall back. It's a balance pose, it really is. Okay, takes a lot in the hips and a lot of mobility in some spaces, but it really is a balance pose. Okay, so find where you're comfortable, whatever variation you want in your upper body and arms. Will take a deep breath. All right, now firmly push into both heels, maybe even hands into the floor to lift and return back to this wide leg. Forward fold, take a breath. Okay. And then we're gonna pivot back. So inhale as you turn back into crescent lunge, facing forward, fingertips to the sky, front knee deeply bent, back knee straight or bent, your call, but a crescent lunge, stay for a deep breath. Inhale, exhale, downward facing dog. Plant the hands, step back, downward facing dog. Before we keep moving, one more pose on this side. So with your right foot, pivot your right foot so that the right heel is firmly down on the ground. The whole bottom of the right foot is down on the ground, right toes hooked over to the right. Pick up the left foot, reach the left heel back, keep the hips level. The left hip often wants to drop, so keep the hips level. Now you're balancing, 3-leg downward facing dog, but maybe find a dristi, maybe the tip of your right big toe, and pick up your right hand. Maybe just come to the fingertips like that bird cage. Maybe let your hand hover off the ground. Maybe bring the back of your hand towards your lower back, taking sort of a half bind. But keep firmly pushing down into the mat with whatever's touching the mat. Keep the hips level, spine long, left arm active. Inhale, exhale, return back to a downward facing dog. Now 3 to 5 breaths before we do all of that on the second side. So you can take a vinyasa with me, which would be to inhale, shift forward. Exhale, slowly lower. Inhale to your back bend. Exhale, downward facing dog. But anytime you've got that option, you could just rest. Know that that's a very valid option. Take a deep breath wherever you're at. Okay. From downward facing dog, deeply bend the knees. Inhale, look forward. Exhale, travel forward. Forward fold, Uttanasana. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, fold. Push the heels down. Inhale, rise. Looking at that imaginary track as you lift up and look up, and then bring your hands to your heart. Take a deep breath in Tadasana. Okay, all right. So firm, strong, you know where we're going. It's a lot of balance poses on one side, but you can do it. So just firm up those legs, strengthening and really putting forth not just the physical effort, but the mental effort, because it's a lot of a mental challenge and work. So you can do it, you can stick with it. Inhale, reach fingertips to the sky. Exhale, chair pose, Utkatasana. So sitting your hips down and back, you can wiggle your toes. Now in a traditional chair, you can easily wiggle your toes. You know that your knees are back so that the shins are more of a vertical line instead of a diagonal line. That's what we're looking for. So hips down, hips back, chest up, shoulders relaxed. You can stay or lift the heels. Shift the weight into the toes, lift the heels up and away from the ground, lifting the heels up almost like you're in a calf raise. So spread the toes, push the toes into the floor, lift the heels, drop the hips. Keep your eyes on a fixed spot, your drishti, your focal point. Take a breath. And then slowly lower the heels. Keeping the weight back in the heels, shift your weight firmly into the right foot. So I'm going to face you. So shift your weight firmly into the right foot, pick up the left, come to figure four, ankle to the top of the opposite thigh. Now flex your left foot instead of letting the foot be relaxed, especially since we're about to twist into it. So flex the left foot, ground through the right heel. You should be able to wiggle your right toes. Ooh, 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 and I lost it. Okay, now you can stay here or bring the hands to the heart. Find a drishti over to the right side now. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, take a twist over to the right. Now you might just twist and your arm and your foot might not make contact. That's okay, but maybe your left elbow or your left tricep meets the bottom of your left foot, pushing into the arch of the foot, hands to the heart, palms together, and you use this as leverage to rotate, turning your heart up towards the ceiling. Now your drishti can be wherever is most comfortable in your neck. We did sort of those neck stretches for a reason. So it might be down, might be forward, might be up, but figure four chair with a twist. This is not my side. Take a deep breath. And then untwist, return the spine to neutral, and cross the leg all the way over. Now maybe you give yourself a break for a moment, and that's okay. The left toe might rest on the ground, it might hover. Right leg is in chair pose. Even if you gave yourself a break for a moment, come back to it. Should be able to wiggle your right toes, right heel on the ground. Now, arms can stay at the heart, arms can stay out, or inhale, exhale as the right arm comes on top and swirl the arms around, palms together, maybe fingertips to the sky, seat to the floor, Garudasana eagle pose. Keep your eyes on a fixed spot, take a deep breath. Firmly push through the right heel, inhale, return all the way back up to a one-leg Tadasana. So really ground through the right heel, pick up that left knee, flex the left foot, toes forward. Keep the hips level instead of letting one hip pop and sag. Fingertips reach up with the crown of the head. Now find a drishti on the floor. Keep your eyes on that fixed spot. Inhale, warrior three. Tipping your torso forward, fingertips forward, crown of the head forward, left heel reaches back through that heel like you're stamping a footprint on the wall behind you. Really lengthen that left leg. Ground through that right heel. This right leg is strong. It is stable. You are strong and stable. Take a breath. Keep your eyes on a fixed spot. Deeply bend the right knee. Let the left foot touch down towards the back of the mat. Crescent lunge. So front knee bent, front heel pushing down. Back heel doesn't matter to me if it stretches back and the knee is straight or if you give it a little bit of movement. Okay, so crescent lunge, take a deep breath. Okay, and then firmly push through this right heel to straighten that leg, and then you're gonna turn over to the left. I'm gonna turn around for this one. So pivoting that back foot so that the left foot turns out and then the right foot turns in. So now you're again facing the long edge of your mat, probably over to the left. Again, you might not be able to see me, but you know where we're going. We're coming to side lunge, Skandasana. And you might not be familiar with that pose, it's okay. I don't teach it very frequently, and I don't often see it in a lot of Vinyasa classes, so it might be a new pose for you. That's okay. Be gentle, be playful, be lighthearted. It's just yoga. So we're gonna push through the heels, stand up tall. The left toes are gonna turn out a little bit to start. You might even turn the right toes out a little, that's fine too. But inhale, lengthen. Exhale as you sink and drop over to the right. So left heel is on the ground, left toes come up towards the sky. Right heel is ideally on the floor, but I'm gonna be honest, when I teach this in a group class, most people's heel is not on the floor. So if you're at home thinking, what the heck? That's okay, you're in good company. I'm sure most people practicing this pose, their heel's not on the ground. It's because your calves and your ankles can be tight. People forget about that. Okay, and you can see I'm wobbling, I'm feeling like I wanna roll back, but I'm gonna lean forward. Maybe hands come down to the ground. Maybe you hands to the heart. Maybe you take a bind. Maybe you look up, whatever you wanna do, but feel length in the left side of that leg, opening through the right hip, and a little bit of a balance pose. Let's stay for another breath. Skandasana, side lunge. Now firmly push both heels into the floor, maybe even the hands into the floor, and return to this wide leg forward fold, toes forward, maybe bring the hands to the hips, take a breath. All right, we're coming back into crescent lunge. I'm facing the wrong way, so you're gonna face forward the way you've been facing, but we're gonna turn all 10 toes forward towards the right leg, coming back into this crescent lunge for just a moment. So I'll turn back so we're all the same way again. So right foot is in front, right knee is deeply bent, left heel off the ground, crescent lunge, inhale, exhale, downward facing dog, stepping back, but before you take your vinyasa, one more balance pose, pivot the left foot, bring the whole bottom of the left foot down. Left heel is firmly down. Pick up the right heel, reach the right heel back, keep the hips level. The right hip often wants to sag. Keep hips level. Maybe you stay. Maybe with your left hand, you just come up to fingertips like a bird cage. Maybe you let the left hand hover. Maybe it comes by your lower back, or maybe even between your shoulder blades. But keep the hips level. Right leg lifted. Right arm firmly pushing down into the floor, balancing down dog. Take a breath. Inhale, return everything back to downward facing dog. Maybe you stay here, maybe you take a child pose. That was a lot of work. Or take a vinyasa. Inhale, shift forward. Exhale, slowly lower. Inhale to your back bend. Exhale, downward facing dog. Notice how you feel. Take one more deep breath. Okay, from downward facing dog, deeply bend the knees. Inhale, look forward. Exhale, travel forward. Forward fold, Uttanasana. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, fold. Push the heels into the floor. Inhale, rise. Looking at that imaginary track up and overhead, and then bring the hands to the heart. Take a deep breath. Okay. So I guess the theme for today is not only balance, but is doing unusual poses, because now that I'm thinking of it, we've got about at least 2 more poses that I have a feeling a lot of you, even if you're regular yoga practitioners, you're gonna go, what pose is that? This is one of them. So let's try it. Let's be playful. So here we're actually gonna bring the feet a little bit closer together. They don't necessarily have to be together, but narrower than hip distance. I like them together. Okay. Now, for the transition, the weight is going to be back in the heels, but like that balancing chair, we're about to lift our heels up off the ground. For a moment, ground the heels, really firm up the legs. Inhale, reach the fingertips to the sky. Exhale, bring the hands to the heart, deeply bend your knees like you're coming to Malasana, but with your knees and your feet together, or again, narrow at least. Now in Malasana, which for those of you that are familiar with that pose, it looks something like this. Knees and feet are wide, it's a hip opener. We're not focused on opening the hips here, that's not the point. We want the knees and feet together, again, or at least pretty close together, but we want the heels up off the ground. So in Malasana, we want the heels on the ground. We want to stretch the calves and the Achilles and the ankles. But now we want ankles and heels lifted like we did in chair pose. Now maybe hands come to blocks or to the floor. See if you can, instead of letting all 10 fingertips rest, can you do maybe just one of each or two of each? Maybe try that. Or maybe hands to the heart, or wherever you need them, whatever makes you feel stable. But hands at the heart's always a good option. Anytime you bring your arms in close and your limbs in close, it's usually a little bit more stable. But if arms out feels more stable, do that. Okay, so this is a variation of a toe squat. So we're lifting the heels up, sinking the hips low. Notice that you are wobbly, balancing. It's like your ankles are sort of dancing. That's all right, that's okay. Stay for a breath. And now here's another sort of funky, different, weird sort of thing that I thought could be fun. For those of you familiar with Navasana, here we go, boat pose. You're gonna drop your seat down onto the floor, lift your feet right up into it, come into Navasana, boat pose. Now this intention is to work your abs, work your core, work your belly. So allow the feet to come together. Flex the feet and keep them lifted. Don't let them hover low to the ground. Lift them up. Hands can grab onto the thighs or fingers can reach forward, but lift your chest, expand through your heart. Now we're gonna move back and forth between toe squat and boat pose, back and forth. But I want it to be controlled. I want you to be using muscles and exerting yourself, not sort of rolling and swinging and flailing and things like that. Okay. So, you're going to inhale, lift your chest, exhale as you come forward into the toe squat, right into it. Maybe hands are rest on the ground for a moment, maybe they don't. I'm going to probably keep my arms forward through this. Okay, so heels up, but seat low. Feel that through the calves, the ankles, and the feet. Inhale, exhale, Navasana. Once we get in each one, we'll just hold it for a moment. Sort of center yourself. That constant movement, sometimes it gets us a little, so come back, find your center, and then when you're ready, inhale, exhale, toe squat, shifting forward. Ooh, maybe you gotta touch the ground, that's all right. We're just playing, we're practicing, we're trying, we're exploring. Heels up, seat down, chest up, shoulders down. Inhale, exhale, boat pose. Lift the feet, drop the seat. Okay, feet together, flexed and lifted, take a breath. We're gonna do that just one more time, okay. So, inhale, exhale, toe squat. Come up onto the toes, lift the heels, drop the seat, lift the chest, lengthen the spine, relax the shoulders, find a dristi. Find a dristi. Keep that dristi as you inhale. Exhale, Navasana for the last time. Lift the feet, lift the chest, broaden through the chest and shoulders, relax the arms, relax the hands, take a breath. And then just let the feet come on down. Okay, wasn't that fun? Okay, I've got one more real fun pose. So this one, I realized that at the beginning of the practice, I said that you don't need props. But now that we're here at the very end of the practice, I'm realizing that you do sort of need blocks or something. So maybe you have two big books. I would not do a stack of books because I worry, especially if they're that glossy kind of material, that they would slide on you. Pillows are too soft, they're not dense enough. What else could you use? I'm not sure, something like that. Some of you might not need anything, and you're my hero, but I definitely need my blocks at least at my lowest height, if not at the medium height. So what we're about to do, the higher the height of the block, the easier the pose will be. So really, that's what I mean. If you had like a big book, it could work, and that would be fine. But I would not do this pose, for those of you who have blocks at home, I would not do it on the high. I don't trust this. So if you're feeling like this pose is hard, come to the medium, which is where I'll start too. Okay, so we're coming to a pose that is has several different names. Kukutasana or rooster pose is often one, but we're gonna focus on the legs for just a moment. So sitting cross-legged like this is perfectly fine. Just cross mid-shin instead of mid-ankle. If you're crossed at the ankle, you're putting pressure on the ankle. Ankles don't like pressure. So cross mid-shin, and you can stay just like this. But one step I hate to say better, but one version that will make the rest of the pose easier is if you can come to a half lotus. So bringing the pinky toe edge of the foot towards your hip flexor. So not just bringing the ankle to the knee, bring the pinky toe side of the foot all the way up by the hip crease, by your hip flexor, by your psoas. Okay, this is half lotus. You absolutely could stay here, listening to your knees, your hips, your outer hips, your lower back, all sorts of spaces. Maybe you come to full lotus. The bottom leg, now the pinky toe side of that one comes up by that hip crease. Okay, and maybe, I know for me, this way I'm comfortable. If I would have changed the cross of my legs, I would not have been comfortable. And that's something to learn about yourself, but maybe you kind of play with one and then the other. Or you don't do this, that's okay. But the more tangled up your legs are, the easier this pose is. So you can sit crisscross applesauce, that's fine. You're just gonna have to work a little harder. Okay, so you're gonna bring your blocks or whatever you've got by your side, sort of right alongside your hips. We want your palms flat. This is not a fingertips birdcage pose. It's a palms flat. So I want you to think about bringing your hands as close to under your shoulders as possible. So definitely not up here. This is going to make the pose 1,000 times harder. Keep real snug, right up close alongside your hips. Okay. You can find a dristi. A dristi never hurt anybody. So maybe looking down and away or up and away at something that won't move. Firmly push your hands into the blocks. Squeeze your thighs into each other. So right leg into left leg into right leg. Squeeze, push, intertangle, pretzel your legs up and squeeze, 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 squeeze. And then push your hands down to lift your seat up off the ground. This is Kukatasana, rooster pose. So push the hands down, straighten the arms, think plank arms, but push into the floor. Lift your belly, lift your seat, lift your legs, squeeze the thighs in, take a deep breath. And then slowly lower down. Okay, we're gonna do it again. So I'm gonna change the cross of my legs. I encourage you to do the same, but like I said, this side might not go over so well, and that will be okay. But, so again, this pose is much, much easier if you've got blocks. Again, the higher the height, the easier this pose is. I, again, would not trust the blocks at this height. I think this is a little too unstable, so I would say medium or low, or no block, but I can't even remotely demonstrate that. If you don't need a block and you can do this pose, you're my hero, that's amazing. I applaud you. But my body doesn't do that. So blocks right under the shoulders as best as I can, snug to the hips. They are truly, when I was lowering back down, I almost felt like I wasn't gonna fit between the blocks. They're close in, that's gonna help. So palms flat, spread the fingers. Maybe find a dristi. Again, dristi never hurt anybody. Squeeze the legs in. I want you to squeeze, 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 and then push the hands down, straighten the arms. Now, straightening the arms isn't really quite enough because then you've got to draw the legs in. So curl your thighs in towards your belly. Now, maybe there's another version of this pose called pendulum pose. You swing forward and back, and maybe you don't, but squeeze the thighs in, curl the legs in, push the arms down, straighten, take a deep breath, and then lower down. And then you can release, untangle, untie. You did it. And you did it in some variation. You might not have looked like me. You might not have looked like the picture you saw online, but you did that version of that pose for your body in that moment, and that is all we can ask. So I applaud you. All right. Let's come down into our back. I'm tired. You might be tired too. Let's rest. Let's relax. So come on down onto your back. Maybe give your wrists a little bit of a roll and a massage. So whenever we do something like that in our wrists, or maybe it's, for example, our ankles bother us, resist the temptation to shake. That's too disruptive to your nervous system. You wouldn't shake someone else's body, right? So don't shake your own. Not like that. So roll, smooth, fluid, actions. Okay.
All right, so arms will come out in opposite directions, palms facing up. Knees bent, feet flat, and let the knees just roll. Rock. I was thinking rock and roll. Let them rock from side to side. That's funny. Let the legs just rock from side to side. Let them sway. Oop, my back just cracked. And that's good. All right, so just let them sort of sway and move and rock and roll from side to side. Knowing that there's no rush. Again, we are starting to cool down now. We did all our balance poses. We did balance poses on our hands and knees. We did them on our hands and toes in plank, in down dog. Lots of standing poses on one foot or on just the toes. And then we just did that Kukatasana, which is an arm balance. It's a really unusual arm balance, one, because it's very difficult, and two, it just asks a lot of spaces that are usually really tight, like hips and wrists and things like that. But again, you did it to the best of your ability, and that is all you can ever ask, and all that your yoga teacher is ever asking of you. So let yourself cool down. Let the legs go to each side one more time. And then the next time your legs fall over to the left, let them stay there. You might scoot your hips over to the right a little bit to let the legs fall to the left. You might take a different leg variation. I'm going to stay right here, but if you know of a leg variation that you'd prefer, you are welcome to it. Now, because we're not balancing, your dristi, your focal point that you're looking at, might be over to your right. So you might turn your neck so you're looking over your right shoulder. Make sure that that's comfortable in the neck. And then let your eyelids softly close. Let your body relax. And just let yourself rest. Take 3 more deep breaths here. And then if your head is turned, slowly return your head back to the center. Slowly return your legs back to the center and your hips to the center if you moved them over. Return everything back to neutral, everything back to symmetry. Take a deep breath. Okay. One more time, just let the knees sway from side to side. And just in case you happen to be looking at me and you noticed what I did, in these poses, I often encourage students to let their arms come out in opposite directions. So from up overhead, you look like a capital, well, the letter T, I guess your head's sort of in the way, you don't look like a capital T, but you get what I'm saying. But for me, sometimes, depending on what my body's sort of been up to, when I'm in that position, my arms will fall asleep. And so what I do is I bring my arms alongside my body. So if you're like me and your arms fall asleep when they're out in opposite directions, just bring them alongside your body, alongside your mat, and that's perfectly fine. Just arms out in opposite directions just allows a really subtle chest and shoulder stretch, which is really, really needed in most bodies. So it's just sort of 2 birds, 1 stone sort of thing. But if it doesn't work for you, you don't have to do it. Okay. Now the next time your legs fall over to the right, let them stay. You might scoot the hips over to the left. You might take a different leg variation with the legs. You are welcome to it. And again, arms out in opposite directions is a really good sort of bonus stretch that you get through the chest and shoulders. But if it doesn't work for you, it's not worth it. It's just meant to be sort of again, a bonus, a little freebie, but not mandatory by any means. And then maybe you turn your neck to look over your left shoulder. But let yourself relax. Again, you were working really hard. We did a lot of balance poses, especially right in a row. So that was tough. And there were probably some moments where maybe you even felt discouraged or overwhelmed. And that's very, very normal. It's not what we're after in a yoga class, but it's very, very normal. And think about with each time you practice, each time you come to your mat, sort of letting those things go. Those feelings of I'm not good enough, or I'm not as good as so-and-so, or I wish I was as good. Just all of those sort of overwhelming, discouraging, upsetting feelings that you get when you quote unquote can't do a pose, which is impossible. Every version of a pose is the pose, so, but just really let those go. You did your best, and that's all we can ask for. Stay for 3 more breaths. And then if your head is turned, slowly return your head to the center. Return your legs to the center, your hips to the center, everything to neutral, everything to symmetry. Take a deep breath. Inhale. Exhale, hug your knees into your chest. You can wrap your arms around your shins or the backs of your thighs. You can stay still. You can rock side to side. Sometimes what I like to do is place my hands on my kneecaps and trace circles with my knees as if I'm stirring a pot. If you do something like that, just make sure to go the opposite way. Maybe you roll out your ankles and your wrists. Give those all one more stretch. Give yourself some movement, maybe a happy baby. Give yourself about 3 to 5 more breaths to just be wherever you want to be. Somewhere that's soft, somewhere that's gentle, recognizing that Shavasana is right around the corner. Okay. And then whenever you are ready, settle into Shavasana. So you're going to stay on your back. I'm going to come up to a seat. But you can come down onto your back. So come on down onto your back in a comfortable position, settling into some version of Shavasana. Some reclined, comfortable, effortless position. And maybe that means blocks or props of any kind. Maybe it doesn't. But the intention is to be very comfortable, to be very relaxed. Somewhere where you can really soften, where you can really rest. Because again, you put in the effort, you put forth all the work, all the effort, all the concentration and the muscle exertion and the mental exertion. And now you can relax. Now you can soften. And indulge in the softening. We live in a world that really rewards work and movement and exertion and really rewards fatigue. And we did that, and you did it wonderfully and beautifully. But can you come at the softness with just as much enthusiasm and determination? So nothing hard, but can you recognize the importance of the relaxation? Just as much as you recognize the importance of the work, can you recognize the importance of this softness? Prioritize the stillness. Let yourself rest.
breath. And as you deepen your breath, create soft movements throughout your body. Maybe let your head rock side to side. Run your thumbs over the rest of your fingertips as you wiggle your toes. Roll your wrists and ankles. Move your arms and legs. And you can reach your arms overhead, stretching as if you just woke up from a long nap. Take a deep breath in. As you breathe out, hug your knees in towards your chest. And slowly roll over onto either side in a tucked fetal position. Keeping your eyes closed and using the strength of both arms, push down into the ground and come up to a comfortable seat. And take a moment here to thank yourself for making it to your mat today, and maybe reflect on your intention. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. May all beings everywhere be happy and free, and may the thoughts, words, and actions of my life contribute in some way to the happiness and freedom for all. Now slowly join your hands together in front of your heart in Anjali Mudra. To seal our practice, we'll chant the sound of Om one time. Om is the oldest and most sacred mantra. It's said to be the sound of the universe. It unites all of us together. So again, we'll chant the sound of Om one time. You're welcome to listen or join me. Let's start with a deep and clearing breath. Inhale for Om. The light or the good in me acknowledges, respects, and bows to the light or the good in you. Namaste. Thank you so much for joining me. Again, my name is Lauren. I am the Yoga and Fitness Program Coordinator at the McFettridge Sports Center, and this was a Vinyasa flow yoga class focusing on balancing. So thank you so much for joining me. Stay safe and healthy. Keep washing your hands, and I hope to see you soon. Thank you. Bye.